I think besides the facts and the stories for each argument that we studied, the most valuable thing I learned is not really a new idea. It's the saying, history is written by the winners. The things we covered clarified that for me like it hadn't really been before. Over and over we saw the value of context when understanding a situation. And we went over things that have been completely reinvented by modern society. Galileo is probably the strongest example. For me, for when I learned about Galileo, originally he was taught as some sort of scientific martyr, and his fate was used over and over throughout my schooling to show the evils of the Catholic Church. But reading Galileo and the notes from the trial and discussing the political situation when everything went down, while it doesn't exactly change anything, it made the situation much more human for me. And being able to see accurately the positions of both sides prevented me from really condemning either side, and helped me respect the positions of those historical figures and therefore the positions of their intellectual descendants. And while I think in modern society we should probably know better than to see anything in terms of black and white, the culture I grew up in often saw science and religion in those terms. But when we were debating things in class, everything usually just boiled down to opinion and personal interpretation. The third debate that we had about evolution was probably the strongest example of that for me. People were using the same authors to defend either side, sometimes from the same paragraph. And it always reached a point in all of the debates, not just that debate, where it was just simply logic versus faith. Even though most of the time we were discussing specific things like evolution or schooling. And it always came down to personal opinion. Reading the modern theorists and the old debates made it clear that not much has really changed. The two sides have distinct cultures and values, and those that advocate those sides obviously think their side is superior. And I don't think either side will ever win. Nothing science can discover is ever going to prove whether or not God exists or not. And even if God comes down and reveals himself to society, I don't think it's going to deter the scientifically minded from continuing to analyze everything. And the schism is really between different types of people. And it's based on fact and theory because it's a debate, obviously. But it's a human debate, and therefore it's a personal debate. And therefore it's an opinion-based debate. And how I grew up seeing it was very much designed and influenced by the fact that I grew up in a very academic area. Outside of Boston, we're very big on college and learning and science. And therefore, when we talked about science and religion, science is always seen as kind of a perfect, infallible thing. But especially in this last section, we've seen that science is certainly not infallible. And I think, if anything, from everything, because I have learned a lot, this class has just really been a very clear example of how not black and white situations are, and how you have to understand the context in every situation, because it's all human. This idea that every argument is a human argument. So thank you for everything, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday.